The logical part of my brain, the part that listened to my father's generals, screamed at me to pick up a rock and finish the job. He was the enemy. He was a weapon of mass destruction in human skin. But the part of me that had put on the blue dress, the part that felt the crushing weight of loneliness even in a crowded court, hesitated. I looked at his back. The wound was grotesque. The poison he spoke of, ashroot, was a paralytic used for hunting bears. On a dragon, it was slowing him down. On a man, it would stop his heart. "If I help you," I whispered, stepping closer, the silk of my dress swishing softly, "you have to promise not to kill me." He laughed, a wet, choking sound. "I captured you. Why would I destroy my prize?" Prize? My blood ran cold, but I knelt beside him anyway. "Is that all I am?" "You are leverage," he grunted, burying his face in his arms. "Pull it out." I hovered my hands over the wound, the heat radiating from his skin so intense it was like holding them over a forge. It was an almost unbearable, living heat that spoke of the fire coiled within him. I could smell the iron of his blood and something else, ancient, like dry parchment and thunderstorms. "This is going to hurt," I said, gripping the shaft of the bolt. It was slick with his blood. "Do it." I braced my knee against the small of his back, the contact searing through the thin silk of my dress. His skin was hard as stone, coiled with unyielding muscle. Taking a steadying breath, I pulled. He screamed. It was not a human scream. It was the shriek of a hawk, a primal noise that vibrated against my teeth. I pulled harder, sobbing with the effort, until the barbed head of the bolt tore free with a sickening squelch. I threw the bloody iron across the cave and scrambled back, wiping my hands on my dress. The blue silk was now stained violet with dragon blood. The dragon, gasped for air, his back arching. The wound began to knit together before my eyes, the magic of his kind fighting the damage, but the poison lingered. He rolled onto his back, his chest heaving. For the first time I saw his face clearly, unobscured by agony. He was devastating, not just handsome, but forged from some harsher, more magnificent element. Sharp cheekbones, a heavy brow, and a mouth that looked cruel and sensual in equal measure, even in repose. He opened his eyes and looked at me. The gold was dimming, terrified pupil dilation replacing the arrogance. "Water," he whispered. There was a trickle of meltwater near the cave entrance. I used a hollow in the rock to cup some and brought it to him, dribbling it into his mouth. I did this 3 times. "Why?" I asked, sitting back on my heels, shivering as the adrenaline faded and the mountain cold set in. "Why kidnap me? Why not just kill me like the others?" He swallowed, his breathing steadying. "The king, your father, encroaches on the high peaks. He mines the nesting grounds." "So you take his daughter?" "I take his future." His gaze drifted over me, lingering on the ruined dress. "He values lineage above all. You are his only heir." I let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "You miscalculated, dragon. My father has 3 bastards he favors more than me. I am a failed treaty waiting to happen. He will not stop the war for me. He will just use my death as a rallying cry." The dragon frowned, his brows knitting together. He looked genuinely confused. "But you are precious." "I am a pawn." He reached out, his hand trembling with effort, and his fingers brushed the stained hem of my silk skirt. The brief touch was a brand, a spark of his inner furnace against my frozen skin that sent a jolt straight up my spine. "To your kind, perhaps. To mine something that shines so bright is rare." I froze. "What shines?" "Your soul," he murmured, his eyes lidding. "It screams. That is why I saw you in the tower. You were louder than the war." The intimacy of the statement hung between us, heavy and thick. Enemies. We were enemies. But seated here in the dark, with his blood on my hands and his heat keeping me alive, the lines were blurring. "What is your name?" I asked quietly. "Valdr," he breathed. "I am Elara." "Elara," he tested the name, his voice a low rumble that sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with fear. "You should sleep, Elara. My body heat, stay close, or the frost will take you." It was a trap, it had to be, but the cold was biting into my marrow. Hesitantly, terrified, I lay down on the stone, curling myself into the curve of his body. In his sleep he moved, his arm, heavy as stone and radiating a profound heat, draped over my waist, pulling me flush against the solid wall of his chest. My mind screamed to fight, to run, but my body, starved of warmth and safety, betrayed me. It melted against him, seeking refuge. I buried my face in the crook of his neck, inhaling the scent of ozone, blood, and something ancient and uniquely male, and surrendered to a dreamless sleep. I woke to the sound of horns. Valdr jerked awake beneath me, his body instantly tense, hard as stone. I scrambled up, rushing to the cave entrance. Far below, marching up the narrow goat path that led to the peak, were banners, blue and silver. My father's men, I gasped. Valdr stood, staggering slightly. He was still pale, the poison not fully purged. They found us quickly. They are here to rescue me, I said, relief washing over me. Valdr moved up beside me, his nakedness forgotten, his presence dominating the space. He looked down at the army, his lip curling. No, Elara, he said, his voice void of hope. Look at the formation, look at the machines. I looked. They were not carrying litters for a wounded princess. They were hauling disassembled ballistae. They were dragging iron chains. They are not here for a rescue, Valdr said, his hand gripping my shoulder, his claws extending slightly to prick the silk. They are here for a harvest.
Want to keep the flame ignited without having to wait for the next part? You can find the full, tantalizing tale on our main page. See the link in the description.